The impression the game you get out with what you put into it. It's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
But not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as Richie Bennett sends it high and over the bar.
Your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence. You can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well done, Shawnee Buckley. To do that to Tomas O'Shea, he deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the word go today. No more about it. They made all the running, that was it. Put the ball over the bar and the back of it, and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We have a couple of injuries. Here comes Kieran Carey. Carey leading the charge of the right brigade. 45 metres out. He's a chance to score. He's put it high. He's put it over.
There's no sympathy in this game for anybody.
Hello, and you're very welcome to another episode of Treaty Talk, where we will look back and indeed look forward to everything that has been going on in the world of Limerick GA in the last 7 days or so. My own name, Tom Clancy, guiding you through this one, and alongside me is Matt O'Callaghan of the Weekly Observer and Vale News and Star papers. Matt, good evening to you. We were just saying before we started here, the fixtures are coming a little bit thinner than we are so used to from what has been a very, very busy year. But nevertheless, some important games across different codes, different grades, down for decision once again.
There is. Like we still have two important games left in the Munster Championship. One this weekend and one next weekend. And like after that, we turn. Let's hope that they may have an All Ireland series to look forward in both. But in the meantime, we have the little matter of the under-21 hurling championship and the under-21 football championship. I know we'll be touching on them later, Tom, but it's nice to see that the under-21 hurling championship has made considerable progress, and the football championship is not as far behind as you could have anticipated. With the amount of fixtures that had to be played during the year, and the amount of clubs with dual involvement, and you know, and especially when clubs progress in the Munster Championship and progress to the concluding stages of the county championships, actually, it impacts especially on under 21, because under 21 is a competition where you've under 17s, under 19s, you have junior Bs, junior As, intermediates, seniors, all playing it. So it's a big mix. So very, very hard at times to get the fixtures to get them played. But thankfully, great progress has been made in the hurling championship, and hopefully there'll be a lot of catching up done in the football championship this weekend. And hopefully going forward, there'll be very little to impede its further progress.
Yeah, and hopefully we can get them all played within the calendar year, which has proved difficult at times with weather and everything else. But I suppose now with a lot more floodlight pitches and a lot more 4G surfaces available, maybe that has eased it somewhat, and we can get through them in time. But Matt, we'll look back now at the week.
It has, but on that very point, Tom, I'm not so sure that, if we get it finished in the calendar year, I don't know how people like playing in the depths of winter, which, we've been accustomed to for the last couple of weeks, although there's been an improvement this week with the frost and the dry weather. And who knows what December will bring. But, I think there's a case for looking at the scheduling of this competition. Now, I get this thing at the beginning of the year where managers want to have their full complements of players for the county teams and minor and under 21. I get all that, but I think that we should look at one of those competitions, I think, in the beginning of the year, and if we could get a certain number of rounds played, I don't know, but I think there's a bit of a window of an opportunity as well, possibly during the senior hurling and senior football championship, if particularly if we're out of the minor and under 21s. Now I know that wouldn't have applied at all last year because we got to the All Ireland under 21 final as well as getting to the senior final, and like we'd be hoping to do the same and to get to the minor final the coming year, But I think it's a thing that should be looked at. I'm not so sure that starting a competition in the late days of November and running it through December it's far from ideal. And I think we've got a slight whiff of the testimony to that, Tom. It was drawn to my attention during the week. And if you look at the schedule of results, particularly for especially for actually the football championship, that there already have been an inordinate number of walkovers. And some of those walkovers have taken place in groups of 3. So, this is something that, I have this thing about walkovers. I don't know why clubs at the start of the year do not sit down and do a forensic examination of what resources they have at their disposal for the various grades. Because this idea that Johnny at the back of the room, we'll put in an under 21 team, but Johnny will do nothing about it, and it's left to the offers, and sometimes pragmatism must rule, where you may just not have the numbers, especially in rural clubs. The Mungret St. Paul's, the Monleans, Ballybrown, your own Ballybrown, Tom, Napier gave us problems. But now that you're out in the heart of County Limerick and South Limerick, you're probably getting a sense of the challenges that are facing rural clubs. Now, and I don't want to, propagate this idea of a rural-urban divide, but it's a fact of life. There are some clubs in this county, and rather than criticize them, I give them a pat in the back. They're getting bigger and stronger every year, and it's because of their accessibility to numbers, and because, above all, they have created the environment where people want to play hurling and football. Now, your clubs, and what would worry me going forward would be there are an awful lot of clubs that are actually facing amalgamation situation, and it's not great for the game. I remember when I was secretary of the South Board, and that was back. I was secretary from 1976 to 1986, and it was always there. On Easter Sunday was Minor Hurling Championship Day. Now, it was running a knockout. But in those days, we had 14 teams in the South, 14 clubs putting out viable minor hurling teams. That has been whittled away now to what, 5 or 6?
Yeah.
Like you Brody and Castletown, Ballygran under the umbrella of Killacollah Gales, Stakers, and Effin under the umbrella of Coshley Gales. You have Knockcaney Hospital, Herberstown under the guise of Canuck Gales, and all that sort of thing. But it's demography, Tom. Where the numbers are and where the work is being put in, they're getting the results, and they're getting bigger and they're getting stronger all the time.
Yeah, it's certainly a big change in the numbers of teams, and I've seen it in other sports, Matt. As you know, I follow lots of sports, and certainly and even in West Limerick, you were mentioning South Limerick there. In West Limerick, I've seen the numbers of teams in soccer, which obviously I'm very much affiliated to. The number of teams dwindle at under 18 level, adult level, and even underage level in some areas. Other areas have prospered, but it's certainly the case in GA as well, where teams have, clubs have struggled to survive, and maybe their numbers fluctuate. But it's maybe a conversation for another day. But in fairness, we must. You mentioned pat in the back, but any club that pulls up all the stops. I remember you've waxed lyrical about Galty Gales. Was it a 21s team with only 17 players? Won a county title, or was it 16 players? Maybe I was slightly wrong there.
16 players, actually.
16 players that won a county title. That'll tell you the effort put in, because they can't transfer in players. They have to work with what they have, and they obviously develop a culture that ultimately saw them promoted to senior and, you know, win an intermediate title off the back of such successes. And they're the clubs that maybe may not have the senior joy, you know, they might never win a Father Casey Cup or a Daily Cup or whatever it may be, but I tell you, there's no shortage of love for the game in those areas. And when you see that effort to win a, maybe was it under 21 A or B title, you know, tremendous for just 16 players. And
you're absolutely right, Tom. At the end of the day, it's a numbers game. You know, but there is no use in having access to numbers if you do not create the environment and work on it. Like, and if we see the clubs that are successful, everybody is saying that Munster are cleaning the boards this year. They are. And fair play to them. The amount of work that they have put in over the last 5 or 6 years, Tom, is simply phenomenal. And you've been living down beside them, and you know what's going on in there. And I have seen it in what I get in from them weekly. The amount of activity, and they have embraced the one club. They have a concept as well. You know, that you have hurling, football, ladies football, and Camogie all under the one umbrella.
Yeah, and their mothers and others.
You see them progressing on all fronts because they have the model there.
Yeah.
But like the Piercy have been doing this. Like Ballybrowne are doing it, your own club. Lane are doing it. You look at the big clubs. And that, you know, that to a degree saddens me as well, because if you look at the other side of the coin, flip the coin then, and you see that some of that success may be at the expense of clubs like Clahan. You know, like it's not too very long ago, certainly in my lifetime, Clahan completed a county senior hurling and football double. I think it was around 1986. That's not a million years ago, you know? And we see the situation that they're in now, which is sad. Like they've gone down to intermediate football for next year and they're playing junior A hurling. It's a far cry from the heady days of Clahan.
Yeah.
Like, but first of all, the thinking has to start within the clubs. And after that, it has to stop continue at the different levels, the divisional board levels and the county board levels. And perish the thought of going up to Croke Park with any suggestion. I have given up on that a long, long time ago because, you know, you come up with a very sensible motion and you get it as far as Croke Park and there's an August unelected body up there, vet it and say, out.
Yeah, well, we may resume this on a further topic, but we must maybe look now at the games that were in the last week. And Matt, obviously, a truncated schedule in terms of what as I said, we're used to, but mixed fortunes in the Munster Championship. Munster St. Paul's go down to Waterford, a 10-point victory over Roanmore, a side that had played at this grade as well last year. You know, very impressive. Munster obviously no experience really. A couple of their lads would have played hurling in an intermediate championship a few years ago, but you know, very little experience at this grade. The whole novelty of it all, but they seem to be very, very comfortable victors. Only conceding 2 points away to Waterford, a Waterford team in Walsh Park. When you know, that's a tremendous result, and obviously now have another day out to look forward to.
Yeah, they had a previous excursion into Munster Championship action in 2004 when they suffered a very heavy defeat to a Waterford side, also Galtier. But there was no doubt about it this time, Tom. Like, nobody could argue that the better team won, you know. And I think the only argument that could be, did the final scoreboard or the final scoreline fully reflect how Munster played and the level of dominance that they enjoyed during the game? Now, they did have a couple of escapes at goal in that Ronan McGilligan, who didn't play in the county final, and as you mentioned last week, is a Sigerson Cup player with UL. And he made 2 fantastic saves, both from Eddie Nolan. One of them was after about 3 or 4 minutes. Nolan went in along the left, And he sent a powerful drive in, but somehow Ronan McGilligan got his hand to it and touched it out wide. And he just on the call of half time, Nolan had another chance, another goal chance, but he was denied. But apart from that, what Ron Moore created, or to be more precise, what Ron Moore were allowed to create was absolutely minimal. And you must remember that Mungret St. Paul's were without John Hutton. He's their captain. He's an inspirational figure. And he was on his honeymoon, and we wish John and his good wife the best of luck for the future. But he was absent. But you'd hardly notice his absence, because we saw what they were able to do in the county final, Tom. And it was more or less business as usual. You know, like, in fairness, nobody has come near, apart from Rathkeil. Nobody has come near derailing them in Limerick this year. And like, Ron Moore, in fairness, were miles away from derailing them. Like, they were after a 3-week break. Ron Moore were in a very good position going into the game. Apart from having home venue, their confidence must have been high. They won the junior championship. They won the intermediate championship last year. They were beaten by Napier-Shig, fine, but this year they went on. And they won the Premier, the newly formed Premier Intermediate Championship in Waterford, which takes a bit of doing. You go up a step and you win, and you go up another step. So they're going up seeing it for the first time, I think. So, like, it was anything but a pushover, but Mungret made it look like that. Now, obviously, they'll be facing a very strong Kilnamatra side in the provincial final on it is either Saturday or Sunday week, I think, Tom. I haven't seen an official fixture for it yet. But Kilnamatra will be a very, very strong side, because they have already beaten the Kerry champions. But that again is another thing. Ron Moore had the advantage of a quarter-final win over Grange Mockler this year, but Mungret just brushed them aside. I thought it was a very competent performance by Mungret, but I'm not living in a fool's paradise. It will have to be so much better if they're to topple Kilnamatra. But for now, they're in the final, and there's only one way you can win the final, by getting to it first.
Yeah.
So I again say congratulations to Mungret. It was a very, very creditable performance, on a weekend, that wasn't great for Limerick football. And I know you're anxious to talk about it now, the Feenagh Kilmeedy game the day before, where we saw, the huge disparity in the standards between, I would say, the haves and the have-nots. But for now, for Mungret, well done. Look forward to the Munster final, and can give it a right crack.
Yeah, and just the final point on that, telling stat, obviously you only can see 2 points over the hour in Walsh Park, and Walsh Park surface looked incredible. There's no excuses there from Rowan Moore. You only can see 2 points. Rowan Moore had scored 3-10 against Grange Mockler in the quarterfinals.
That's right.
So that'll tell you their scoring prowess that they have at their disposal. Eddie Nolan, you mentioned, the former Irish soccer international, obviously a very fit man, very capable man.
That's right. Former soccer player.
So it's not like it's not like this was a walkover from Mungret. They made it look as such because of their dominance.
And the Waterford thing, a hurling goalkeeper was playing at centre forward, Billy Nolan.
Yeah. So Rowan Moore were, and obviously you mentioned the background of them winning 2 county titles in a row. So they didn't get her by accident either. But to mention the junior, I was on commentary duty for Munster GATV on Saturday. Look, Feenagh Kilmeedy, their season obviously won't be defined by this, but 4-16 to 2 points against Kilmurray of Cork. This is the Kilmurray side who contested the final with Fossa last year. Were comfortably beaten in that Munster decider, but obviously have the experience of winning a quarter-final this year, semi-final last year, semi-final this year obviously now as well. You mentioned the haves and have-nots. I think from Matt, I think you watched the game as well on the stream. From a long way out, this was obvious that Feenagh were out of their depth. And look, we won't sugarcoat it. They're men. They're a proud club. They won't want us to say that they deserve more from the game. They didn't. They were very poor. Murray were, I thought, very impressive, but Feenagh, the game looked over very early on. They struggled from the first whistle, really, didn't they?
My position on it, Tom, you're right, there's no sugarcoating it. They were well beaten. But, I went to Ennis the previous Saturday to see him playing Banner in the hurling semi-final. And we were wondering, what would be the response from Feenagh. They lost the county final, the hurling final, in the most dramatic of circumstances to lose on a penalty shootout. And, they lost the football by 3 points. It was a question of being so near, but yet so far. But they got over that hump in the hurling final. And, it put them into the Munster final, which they richly deserved by their performance on the day. But, then they had the football game, and you'd basically many of the same players involved, and it was a difficult juggling exercise. Now, John O'Gorman didn't play. We flagged that last week. You the hurling final to look forward to. If you were pragmatic, you were going to say you were not going to win the football championship anyway. So what did you do? Could you risk the players getting injured? And as it happened, Brian Hannigan went off with an injury.
Yeah, hamstring issue, but it looks of it, yeah.
Yeah, and you just wish that, you just hope that Brian will have recovered for Saturday, and they had all those sort of problems. But for me, Tom, this whole episode, raises an awful lot of questions for me, about the value of the competition as it is presently structured. Because you had a situation whereby Feenagh lost the semi-final by 26 points. And while all that was happening, Kilmeedy were losing the other semi-final to Listowel Limits by 24 points.
Almost identical scorelines in a way, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And you must remember that these are semi-finals. So how this sort of inequity in this competition, and Tom, it just doesn't apply to this year.
No.
If you go back over the records, they're hugely lopsided. First of all, a team
16 times Kerry have won it, and 3 times Cork. That's off the top of my head now.
That's the point. No club outside of Kerry and Cork have won it.
Yeah, and even then, for Kerry to have won it 16 times will tell you that even Cork are struggling in this grade to a degree,
They're struggling. Absolutely. I know it is being attributed to different formats for the championships in various counties, because you must remember that Feenagh, they didn't win the Limerick championship, but that hadn't anything to do with it as such. They were the 25th best team in the county, or 26th best team.
26th, I would say.
I'm sorry. They were the third. They were. They were the 25th or 26th best team in the county. So you'll have Kerry teams coming up, and they'll be 16th or 17th best.
Yeah, it would be the 17th best team. Listowel Limits would be the 17th best club team in Kerry, which, who's the 17th best team in Limerick is probably someone mid-table and intermediate,
Yeah,
like,
but,
Griffins or someone like that.
If you look at Camogie, whereby they have the senior county champions from all the counties involved. And but after that, the intermediate winners play in the junior provincial championship.
Yeah.
Now that wouldn't apply to Limerick in hurling, but it should apply, I think, to the weaker counties in football.
Yeah. Well, Kerry, if you look at the hurling scenario, Kerry's champions in her senior hurling champions continue to play in the intermediate grade. Despite having won it, was it 2021 or 22? I can't remember which club won it. They won the intermediate, but they still play at intermediate. If the same logic of football is applied, the Kerry senior hurling champions should be playing against Na Piarsaigh, Ballygunner, etc., etc. But they're not. So they're given a disparity. Whereas, it's been 10 years since any Limerick team made any bit of an impact, in my opinion, on the Munster Junior Championship. It's been about best part of 10 years since we had a finalist, I think, isn't it? 2013 or so, and it doesn't look like the gap is widening, and it's not just because of this result.
In the hurling championship.
No, sorry,
in the last year.
The Munster Junior Football Championship. It's been about a decade since
we had, and that was the other point that I was going to come at, Tom, when I said that you look back on historical results and see how the disparity that has there. And when the randomness of the draw throws up Kerry and Cork on the one side, you have seen that the team that has got from the weaker counties that has got to the final has been hockeyed.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah, I recall Crew losing to Mullinahone and then Mullinahone point final, I think, against the Kerry team. Yeah, these sort of things.
There's a solution there, Tom, and the solution is, as you pointed out, with Kerry teams stepping down a level. I'm not asking for Limerick senior footballers to come down to intermediate football, but I think we've got to be realistic about it. And when you think about it, Tom, and we have discussed this here in this medium, and maybe with Jack before you, the Intermediate Football Championship this year, for the second year, saw a team pulling out and saw 2 or 3 walkovers.
Yeah.
Look, I don't get it, and I think the facility is there and is there for doing something about it, because last Saturday, in my opinion, in Clodove and Quilty was a pure waste of time, and doing nothing about it is not an option.
Yeah, I think the Kerry scenario, and not to have a go at Kerry, their structures that they like, but having the 17th best team in Kerry against the 26th best team in Limerick, when Limerick are already behind the 8 ball, as it were. If they did face off, it just doesn't work. Whether it would be there has to be something found there, because for the championship to have only been won by 2 counties out of 6 in 20 installments or 19 installments, you would think that the law of averages would suggest Waterford would win it once, or Limerick would win it once, or Tip might win it once, but they haven't even come close. There's a few close shaves at Limerick clubs, maybe 2009, 2010, 11. There was a couple of finalists there, in fairness to them, Cappamore and the likes, and Brewery, I think, were in finals, but now there seems to be
Castleman, and they all fell the same way. And I saw most of those finals, and they put up. You went to Mallow. They were basically all played in Mallow nearly, and it was like lambs to the slaughter. And they put up a spirited performance, but the gap was glaringly obvious. So look, I don't know, but it's an issue. It's an issue, Tom, that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and well, I suppose I don't think Feenagh will be overly worried about being knocked out of that one. They'll definitely be targeting a go at St. Catherine's, which we'll come on to in a minute, in the junior hurling decider. But I suppose it's probably a fixture they didn't want in the grand scheme of things, especially having not won the county championship. But Matt, Camogie, there was heartbreak in the Munster Junior Camogie. This is the Limerick Intermediate Champions. It's kind of a little bit along what we're getting on. Monaleen defeated after extra time on, I think, was it Saturday afternoon, by just a point. Heartbreaking stuff. It sounded like a real humdinger of a game. Obviously, it was on the same time as the Feenagh game. I wasn't there, but it sounded like a great game, and unfortunately, it came out the wrong side.
It's the second week in a row that the Limerick champions have gone out by a single point, and we discussed at length about Newcastle West last week, and indulge me, Tom, I will come back to Newcastle West just a bit later. But commiserations to Monaleen. It was a fantastic performance, and at one stage, Tom, they were 2 goals down, and but fought back. And you must remember, Tom, it was 18 scores to 11 in favour of Monaleen, and they lost the Camogie match by a point. So like it was 14 points. Wasn't that the final score?
Yeah, I just went to pull it up here. I'm pretty sure you're right there. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so like, and I said it last week, and I said with a certain amount of confidence that I thought Monaghan were capable of doing it. Now, you know, I'm not happy to be wrong, but I feel vindicated to a say that they came so close. As I said, I during I saw him in the Limerick Championship, and I was hugely impressed with him, and particularly the way that they played in the final and the way that they dug it out. And looking at the composition of their team, and you know, the age profile of their team, I'm really looking forward to them playing at Senior Camogie next year, because you know, the wind is a bit to their back now. There's no doubt about that. But they certainly would have done with the boost of winning a Munster championship. You know, and they were very, very, very unlucky. You know, but well done to them. You know, they got to the final. Great performance in the final. But look, we need to be getting over the line. Limerick Camogie needs us to get over the line. Now, I said I'd allude back to the previous week, and just to note that Sarsfields of Cork have since been crowned Munster champions. They beat Drummond by 4 points in the final. But when I was speaking about the challenges that were facing Newcastle West in the game last week, I got sidetracked, not by you, but by myself, talking through my head, maybe or thinking through my head. But like, they were beaten by a point for the whole game, Tom. They were without Debbie Murphy. I didn't mention it last week.
Yeah. One of their best
Debbie
players.
Murphy, you know, like the performance that she put on during the championship, and in particular in the county final, you know, she was an enormous loss. You know, and I inadvertently didn't mention that fact last week, so I want to correct the record, as it were.
Yeah.
Because, you know, she's a player I have the utmost respect, and the telepathy and the combination that's between herself and Cameron O'Leary in the middle third there.
Yeah, in both
you know, absolutely, it's fantastic. So, and you know, she's not an ordinary player. She's an All-Ireland minor medal winner 9 years ago.
Yeah, intermediate as well. Sure, she was knocking around there
intermediate as well.
Yeah.
You know, so I just had to put that record straight, like that you know, in case anybody said that we didn't note the fact that Karen O'Leary or that Debbie Murphy was missing. She was a huge loss.
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully she'll be fit and ready now for 2024, and we'll see as the weeks go on what Joe Quaid will do with his senior camogie panel, and I'm sure he had a good look at Monaghan as well at last weekend to see what he could pick up. Matt, we'll flip now to hurling, and we're just a couple of hours after a couple of Harty Cup games. Limerick already with Harty Cup safely into the quarterfinals, so they're waiting the draw to see who they'll face. They'll be joined by John the Baptist, of course, in hospital, who had a very good win over Our Lady's Templemore. But unfortunately, Castletroy met their end in the competition with against one of the powerhouses historically, anyway, of St. Flannan's, that game in Meelick. But great to see, you know, obviously Arskil have been the trendsetters in this for Limerick hurling for 14, 15 years now. But they're joined in the last 8 by Hospital, who are back to the grade. So a fine win for them. A game played on AstroTurf being feathered, wasn't it? And a good win over Templemore. So congratulations to Hospital, and on they go.
Oh yeah, absolute congratulations. And I haven't seen their games this year, unfortunately, because at 1 o'clock on Wednesday doesn't suit me, as I cannot make the deadline for the paper with the match report. But you know, I was speaking to connections of Hospital of John the Baptist early in the year, and they're waxing lyrical about the potential of this team. And like they've been proved right. Like they beat Castletroy in the first round, drew with Carrick-on-Suir in the second round, and now they've taken a scalp. Because you must remember that Our Lady's Templemore have been there or thereabouts in recent years, Tom.
Yeah.
And this is a scalp. And congratulations to them. Now, they have a number of players that people will be familiar with that have played Limerick minor, like, the like of Sean Casey, Owen Meany from Brough, Hugh Flanagan, Gareth Spillane, Michael Leo from Knockcaney, and like this is their first year back. And was it the semi-final they were beaten a couple of years ago by Thurles CBS after a replay in Dundrum? So, like, they look to be a very, very strong team. I hope to get, no matter what happens, get to see them in the quarter-final. And I don't think they have anything to worry about as to who they'll face in the quarter-final. But you're at the stage of the competition now, Tom, like where you have to beat what's put in front of you, no matter what it is. Like, a lot of the seeding has been done at this stage. And, like, there are very, very few poor teams left. That's the reality of it.
My understanding,
like, you're rubbing shoulders now with the big boys, if you're to have ambition. And I would be pretty confident that John the Baptist will be, they'll roll over from nobody, Tom. They will be quite formidable, whoever they're drawn against. Now, also, of course, St. Flannan's beat Artscoil in the first round this year, didn't they? So, like, you Castletroy were facing a very difficult challenge, because, as you rightly said there in your introductory remarks, you're talking about one of the powerhouses of Harty Cup hurling. So, hard luck on Castletroy, but we should note a very significant result with Limerick connections, and that was the victory of Charleville CBS over Cashel Community School. You must remember that Cashel Community School are the holders, or the champions, and they have been dethroned today. Charleville beat them by a point in Banshire. Now, the Limerick connection is that there's a lad Tobin from Brewery and a lad Horgan from Granaballangary. They started in today's game in Banshire. Now, it is less Limerick connection than usual, I would say, because I have seen, and you must remember that David Reedy, our Limerick senior hurler, led Charleville CBS to the Harty Cup final, playing at centre half back. Paddy O'Loughlin, an All-Ireland medal with Limerick in recent years, he was a Charleville CBS man. But very, very often there are 4 or 5 or maybe sometimes 6 players from Limerick on the Charleville CBS team. But that is at this stage today, as we speak, there was only 2: the lad Tobin from Brewery and Horgan from Granaballangary.
Yeah, but good to see a couple more Limerick men, and I suppose we want to see as many young stars from Limerick involved in this Premier competition. So great to see that, as well as obviously Doon, who bowed out in the group. Obviously would have learned they were very unlucky in a lot of ways, would have missed out narrowly. But we could have
it's such a change. It's such a change. I remember back about 20 years ago. I don't think we had any team in the Harty Cup once CBS went out of it. Now we've Artscoil, we've Doon, we have Kilmallock. Kilmallock got to a semi-final. We have John the Baptist. Castletroy, like with 4 teams in the Harty Cup this year, which is very good for our county. And just a last 16 game, Pallaskenry won today. They won their last 16 game. I can't remember who they beat, but they're into the last 8 now, and they will be hoping to go one better than they did last year when they got to the Munster C final, only to be beaten and come up short against Mitchelstown CBS in Kilmallock. And now we didn't the year didn't end last year without silverware in colleges, because Coloston and Atrochra won the All-Ireland D Championship. Lost in the Troker in Redkeel. So you can see right down to grade. You have the like of Colossy, Joseph, Kilmallock, Skull, Pole, Kilfinnan. They're all competing very, very satisfactory down through the grades, which is a dramatic change from about 20 years ago.
Absolutely, and thank God you got into Pallaskenry mentioned as someone who attended there for 6 years. That it might have been in trouble, but a victory today for them Wednesday afternoon, 124 to 120 over Dungarvan. So into the last 8, the quarterfinals, obviously, of the under 19C competition. So congratulations to them, and we'll see in the new year. It'll be the new year before we have another round of hurling, I believe. We could have an All Limerick quarterfinal in the Harty Cup. That'll be something to behold. So we'll wait and see on the draw. I'm sure that'll be done in the next couple of weeks, and we'll know the pairings for. I think it's the 10th of January. Those quarterfinals are penciled in for. Matt, there was news as well of change.
Give students and teams the opportunity to mull on their opponents over the Christmas turkey. It would be.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and try and do their research, and they're gone very professional in how they prep these teams, especially at Harty level. So we should see what comes of it. But Matt, there was an addition. I was going to say change, but 2 additions to the Limerick backroom team announced this week. John Flavin, Mona Gayman, has gone in as a selector, and Joe O'Connor returns this time as the high performance coach. And when his name was thrown in there, someone said to me, "Oh, is Carbra O'Quailon, the strength and conditioning coach, gone?" Limerick JF confirmed to me that he's not. He's still in situ. It's just that he's strength and conditioning, and Joe O'Connor is high performance. So 2 men that know the scene. They know they're Limerick men as well. They know what it takes to be involved in All Ireland winning teams in both cases. So welcome addition to John Kiley's backroom team, and there'll be no stone left unturned in the drive for 5.
No, and it strengthens the backroom team. John Flavin is one of the greatest of Limerick hurling. He has been involved with John Kiley before in 2015, and I think they were teammates in the Limerick teams of the 90s. And John Flavin has very, very popular figure in the GA family in Limerick, and has given a lot of time to the GA. And now Joe O'Connor comes in with pedigree as well, and a very strong pedigree in that. He was involved with the 2018 All-Ireland winning team. So that there will be no getting to know you. It will be a renewal of old acquaintances with both men, because Joe O'Connor would have dealt with most of these players in 2018, whilst John Flavin would have dealt with most of them when Limerick won the All-Ireland under 21 in 2015. So, congratulations to both men on their appointments, and we wish them the very, very best of luck on the drive for 5.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be there every step of the way. And Matt, as well, just the touch, there's been, I suppose, rumblings and rumours and the usual at this time of year of who's in and who's out of the panel. Now, we won't speculate with names because it would be unfair to do so, especially given that it's normally younger players. But this model that Limerick have, and I call it a model because they will replenish the extended panel this year, no doubt. There'll be 2 or 3 faces that maybe have served their time, and maybe it's the end of the road for now at least, and there'll probably be 3 or 4 new faces on. John Kiley, they like to do that. They like to keep the extended team fresh, and that has augured well obviously over the last 5 or 6 seasons. We saw it last year with the likes of Donegal O'Donnell coming in off the back of a good club campaign, obviously Limerick 20 that in 2022 as well. So we'll wait with bated breath to see who's in, but it's always that exciting time of year to see, who has put their hand up around the club scene and who the likes of who John Kiley is looking at. So we'll see in time who's coming in.
Oh yeah. We'd all have people that we'd like to see coming in, and we're not going to speculate here. I have found that trying to second guess John Kiley is very, very boggy ground in the past. So I'm not going to start now. Yeah,
but it is good anyway to see. Obviously, it will be good to see new faces in, and if any of them can make an impact, especially in the league, it will augur well. And look, they've not stood still over the last 6 seasons. They've kept things moving. So we'll see maybe in the Munster competition. It's confirmed to me as well this week that the 6 counties have entered both the Menswear Cup and the Munster Senior Hurling League. So formats of that to be determined in the new year. So if anyone was waiting to see when will Limerick be lining out, I'm sure it'll be early to mid-January. We'll see both Limerick teams in hurling and football in those respective competitions, and that'll be time to cast our eye over the panel and see who's in and who's out. Matt, back to domestic matters.
Well, I would suspect that the format for the Menswear Cup and the Munster Senior Hurling Cup will be the same as last year with 2 3s. I thought that worked very, very well. Now, all right, Limerick got beaten by Cork in the first round. Cork beat Kerry, so it was a rubber when Limerick went to Tralee to play Kerry. But nevertheless, it was a very, very useful exercise.
Yeah,
John Kyle used it to run the rule over a lot of players. So I wouldn't be reading too much into it. We were beaten in the Munster Senior Hurling Cup, but we are League and All Ireland champions, so I'll take that.
Munster champions as well, Matt. Just to remind you that fact as well. They won everything basically bar that competition last year, so we're happy enough at the end of the year with how things have finished. Matt, under 21s, now when we're speaking, there's games ongoing, there's grades being decided in terms of who's in and who's out of groups, so we're not in a position maybe to speculate over who might be in the shake-up, but we're down to the business end now. You touched on it at the start. We're down towards the business end of the hurling championship. The football, I think nearly every team will have had a fixture in some shape or form, so shaping up nicely, and the 21s Premier in particular, by this time next week, we'll probably know our finalists, so it has always been in my opinion our grade.
Yeah, Tom, I'm happy to see the competition at the level that is at, and at the stage it is at, should I say, because I do remember attending a county final in the snow in Bruff one day, so you wouldn't like to see that again, but you're right. If the programme is set out at the moment, and programme that has been published in the Under-21 Hurling Championship, we will know the three, the composition of the 3 finals, Premier A and B, when we speak this day week, next Wednesday. Because as it is at the moment, as we speak, Glenroe and Coshley Gales are playing in one semi-final of the A Championship. Maru Boher are down to play A another in the other semi-final tomorrow evening. I thought A and others were only in team lineouts, but they're obviously appearing elsewhere now. But it looks as if we will know the finalists now. Both semi-finals in the B Championship are down at 2:00 on Saturday. Both of them are down at 2:00. One of them is in Cappamore and one of them is in McNeville Park.
Yeah.
Both at 2:00. Now, as we speak, Monaghan and Na Piarsaigh are through to the semi-finals of the Premier Championship. But there are a couple of places to be filled, and there are a couple of very, very important games to decide who will fill those positions. Your own club, Ballybrown, are due to play a hand tonight. That will go somewhere towards deciding it. But it will not be finally decided until the meeting of Mungret St. Paul's and Doon in Kilmallock on Saturday at 2:00, which is a huge game. Now, as I said, Monaghan and Na Piarsaigh got through. It's a 3-way battle for the other 2 places between Ballybrown, Doon and Mungret St. Paul's. And being the great mathematician that you are, Tom, you gave me the permutations before we came on air. So would you like to repeat them for the listenership?
Yeah. So this is all based, of course, this is the group involving Mungret, Ballybrown, Doon, and you also have a Han in there as well. A Han are already out, but if Ballybrown beat a Han, that will put them onto, I think it's 3 wins and one defeat, and then that will leave the Mungret and Doon the game to decide the top 2. So Mungret have beaten Ballybrown by 3 points. Ballybrown have beaten Doon by 3 points. So it's this new scoring system, if I can call it that, where if 3 teams are level on the same number of points in the group, i.e. from wins, which they all would be if Doon won, if Doon beat Mungers. So if you're still with me. So if Doon beat Mungers, they'll all be on the same amount of wins. They'll all have beaten each other effectively. So then it'll come down to scoring difference between the three. Now at the moment, Munger plus 3 points, Ballybrown 0, and Doon -3. But as I've said, this will involve Doon beating Mungers. So there will -3 will be improved. Doon Mungers +3 will be diminished, and Ballybrown 0 will stay 0. So if Doon win by 4, themselves and Ballybrown will go through. If Doon win only by 1 or 2, they will miss out. And Ballybrown and Munger will go through. And if Doon win by 3 points exactly, well, I don't know. You can throw your hat at it, Matt. I'm not sure what the scenario is there. Maybe amount scored in the group overall or something like that. But that's a scenario for another day. But it's interesting nonetheless. Ballybrown, even though they're not actually ahead of Munger at the moment, are in a good position. Presuming they beat a hand, they're actually in an okay position because if Munger win, they'll carry Ballybrown with them. If Doon win convincingly by 6 or 7 points, whatever it will be, Ballybrown will go with them as well. So be interesting to see what way that develops. Ballybrown, of course, defending champions. Munger beaten in last year's decider, and Doon obviously have Adam English, Donal Coughlin, Tomas Lynch, in their panel. So they've some strong players as well. So it's three strong teams going for 2 places. So 2 into 3, it doesn't go, as we know.
No, but it all adds up to a fantastic competition, a fantastic concluding stages to the competition. And as I said at the outset, and I repeat it again, like that, the great pity about it is like, it's been played under lights and it's been played in the depth of winter, and, I think it deserves a bigger stage, but I don't know what the answer is, with this split season and all that sort of stuff. I just don't know.
No, and I think it's easy to say we should move it, but then you mentioned at the start, you've I know obviously from looking at Ballybrown, they have players that would have played Junior B, they have players that would have played Senior, they have players that would play under 17, under 19, and they're all feeding into this one team. And they obviously had 2 players on the Limerick panel, namely Colin Coughlin and Aidan O'Connor. So if that's replicated in Mungers, which invariably it would be with under 20 and under 17 Limerick players, it's replicated in the Pearshig, it's replicated in every club basically, Doon and etc. So it's very difficult to find I think a solution to it, but nevertheless it's the last grade you play with your mates. You're guaranteed to play with all your friends that you went to school with. It's a grade where sometimes brothers might only line out together for the first time or the only time, because one of them might be a standout senior and one may not be to that level at this point. So it might be the only opportunity. So there's merit in keeping this grade. Now I think it's going back to under 20 next year as well in Limerick, Matt, isn't it? A club, as far as I'm aware. So that will change the dynamic of it slightly. But yeah, look, we'll see what comes of it, how it finishes up this year, and it'll be reviewed, I'm sure, into 2024 as to where its place in the calendar should belong.
It's a debate for another day, Tom, but minor under 18 and under 21 served us very, very well for decades upon decades.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you'd see some of the best players in the county lining out of this as well.
All the spurious arguments and fictitious arguments that I've seen, about burnout and all this sort of thing. And I get all this thing about burnout, but, talking about burnout at one side of your mouth and talking at the other side about making, for instance, the Munster under 21 hurling and Munster minor hurling championship full round robins, to me it just it makes it a great spectator sport, but there's a contradiction there, Tom, I think anyway.
Yeah, there is. Now there's one game we haven't looked to just yet, but we may well do so now, and that's the AIB Munster Club Junior Hurling Championship final. We mentioned Feenagh Kilmeedy, disappointment last weekend, but I'm sure they'll shake that off. St. Catherine's of Cork will be the opposition on Saturday, December 2nd. That's this Saturday coming, 1:30 p.m. throw-in in Mallow. Matt, both teams probably equidistant to here. Good venue is Mallow for these finals, and I'm sure Feenagh will bring a big support with them. They've obviously had 2 final heartbreaks already. Is a third time lucky for them in a Munster decider?
Well, I hope so. You know, and you speak about their support, and like the amount of support that they brought to us was admirable. They brought huge support to us for the semi-final, and you full credit to their supporters, because they had been put through the ringer of heartbreak, you know, in the 2 county finals, but they turned out in huge numbers, and it was great to meet with a lot of them, and the positivity that they had despite what they had been through, and the players rose to the occasion and delivered the performance that they were looking for, and delivered, in my view, given the circumstances that, you know, coming into the semi-final, a very, very impressive performance. Before we go any further, you know, I'd be a small bit worried about the fact that John O'Gorman left the field in the semi-final after taking a knock, and didn't feature in the football, but that I quite understand. Even if he were fit, I don't know, would they have risked him? And the injury to Brian Hannigan. These are 2 of the most experienced players, and they're 2 key. Brian Hannigan is the team centre back, and John O'Gorman is a very, very good wing forward, forming a very, very potent half forward line with Dermot Coleman and Maurice Fitzgibbon. And you know, our sincere wishes are that the 2 lads will be fit for Feenagh, and that Mark Keane, Tony Long, William Mervyn and John Coleman will be picking from a full hand when they sit down to pick the team later in the week. Look, they will be going into the game as underdogs, Tom. That, you know, there isn't a doubt in it about that. They went in as underdogs, and it didn't faze them, because the Banner had home advantage. The Banner had been in the competition last year, lost out after extra time to St. Kieran's, and the Banner had Shane Meehan, you know, a top class player with inter-county player, their talisman, marquee player, and they coped with all that. Sorry. The
Banner had played a quarter final as well, so they, you know, had that.
They played a quarter final. They played a quarter final. So, you know, I think they're entitled to go to Mallow with a certain level of confidence. Now, there's a similarity between the teams in that they both lost their respective county finals. Like St. Catherine's lost the county final to Erin's Own, and as we know, Munster St. Paul's defeated Kilmeedy. Now, St. Catherine's were in the competition way back in 2004 when they were Cork Intermediate champions, you know, and they suffered a very, very heavy defeat in the quarter-final that year to Killadangan from Tipperary. So, like, you know, now Feenagh Kilmeedy have been in the final in 2013, and they ran up against one of the best junior teams that I've seen in my time there. They ran up against the Bennett-inspired and powered Ballysaggart, who had the Bennett brothers, the famous Bennett brothers, you know, and but nevertheless put up a very, very creditable performance. Now, there's about 6 or 7 of those players that played that day, that featured that day, who are still in the panel. The like of Michael Bergen, I just can't get them all now, Brian Hannigan, John O'Gorman, Dermot Coleman, you know, those lads were all around, and they will bring a wealth of experience, you know, of what it is to play in a provincial final, what it is to get to a provincial final, and what it is to get to a provincial final twice now, and what it is, you know, what you've got to do maybe to get over the line in a provincial final. Now, no doubt, St. Catherine's are going to be a very good side. They're drawn from Ballyknoe, near Connacht, County Cork, not too far from Fermoy. Now, Dennis Walsh, who won 2 All-Ireland medals with Cork, and who's a former Waterford senior football manager and Cork senior hurling manager, is their manager and coach. You know, and he you know, has built a reputation for himself as a coach over the years. And in the latter part of his career, he played with Kildare, where he was resident for a couple of years. But I think that if Feenagh Kilmeedy can get everybody on the field, that includes Brian Hannigan and John O'Gorman, and I have no doubt that they will have learned so much about themselves. And I'm totally, Tom, disregarding what happened last Saturday in Clodove. I'm sure they have parked that long ago. They had parked it before they left Mid-Cork, and rightly so. That they will be focusing on what they did in the semi-final and how they can improve on it in the final. Because there is no doubt that there are things that they could do better. But you must remember, in terms of confidence and in terms of morale, going into that semi-final against the Banner, they were coming from a low base, as for reasons that we have well charted. Now, I think there are a lot of things about their side that, to me, look good. First of all, they're a pretty even side. But with a full complement of a very, very strong half-forward line. Very, very strong. And we can see, what did they score? 20 points? 16 of them came from the half-forward line. John O'Gorman got 2 exquisite points. Maurice Fitzgibbon got what was the clinching point at the finish. And you had Dermot Coleman with 13 points. Very, very strong half-forward line. And that could be the area how St. Catherine's will cope with that half-forward line. You know, if they can curve them, there is no doubt it will put Feenagh Kilmeedy under a certain level of pressure. But, you know, the attitude, that attitude is second to none, as we see by, the circumstances in which they have found themselves in the final. Because after the county finals, and especially with so many dual players, a lot of fellas could roll over and say, to hell with this, They didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't. They took what they had on the chin and they bounced back with a bang.
Yeah, absolutely. So they face the yellow and purple, I think, is what the colours of St. Catherine's. That's in Mallow, 1:30. We're wishing Feenagh Kilmeedy at Saturday afternoon. That is, of course, live on Munster GATV. So wishing Feenagh Kilmeedy the very best of luck in that one, and hopefully it'll be third time lucky in terms of finals this season. That's about it for us this week on Treaty Talk. Thank you once again for tuning in, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Impression again we get out with what you put into. It's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
Not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as Richie Bennett sends it high and over the bar.
Your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence. You can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well done, Shawnee Buckley. To do that to Tommaso Sheahy, he deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the workout today. No more about it. They made all the running, that was it. Put the ball over the bar and the back of it, and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We've had a couple of injuries. Here comes Kieran Curry. Curry leading the charge of the right brigade. 45 metres out. He's a chance to score. He's put it hard. He's put it over.
There's no sympathy in this game for anybody.